Welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels, a Star Wars Legion podcast bringing you the latest news, general perspective, and competitive discussion.
Hello and welcome back to the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. I'm Kyle. I'm here with Mike and Jay and Tim and Lucas again. What's up, gentlemen?
Another day. I mean, is this basically the same day as last Monday?
Kind of. It's like Groundhog Day.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we still have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I just like to say for all of you listening, where most content creators smushed it all into one episode, we're kind enough to spread it over two to give you our full and detailed thoughts on the changes.
Oof. All right. Jay Schlansky, everybody.
All right. How about we just dive right into housekeeping before we hit our topics today?
Housekeeping.
All right. So for housekeeping, let's talk Stormtide real quick. So listen, I'm talking to you out there in podcast land, the guy or the gal who hasn't signed up for Stormtide yet. And you're thinking to yourself, should I do this? And I say yes, because in box 4, which we're about to launch, we have monsters and structures. And so the game of Legion and Stormtide is about to get cuckoo bananas. And I think you want to get in on this. And, you know, right now there's 2 ways you can do it. You can do a catch-up box, which you can buy boxes 1 through 3 and then start with 4. Or if you just sign up for our regular monthly subscription, you'll start at box 1 and you can catch up in your own time, 1 month at a time. And we're actually doing a cool code. You can get a discount on it right now if you sign up between now and Thanksgiving using the coupon code Turkey Time, all one word, Turkey Time. And get in on it now. Like, the stuff that Mike and I are working on, not only for the next 3 boxes to kind of wrap up the first 2 quarters, but the things that are planned for the future are just going to be so much fun. And I think you guys are going to love it. And so, get in on it. You know, I mean, worst case is you sign up for 1 month and you can cancel at any time. So if you don't want to continue, that's fine. But I think if you at least sign up for 1 month, you guys are going to get kind of sucked in to the narrative and the story and everything and the gameplays that Mike's created. So I'm really excited about that. So do that.
Yeah, not to like plug our own chops here. I know that this is a competitive podcast, but there's a lot of competitive players here that were a little unsure about like narrative Legion play before Stormtide, and have really gotten into it since, you know, like, okay, I'll get a box, try it out. And for a lot of people, I think it's changed the game a little bit as far as like what their focus is. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, not to toot our own horn, but toot.
Toot.
I almost said a bad word, Mike, but I didn't want you to have to edit it out. So
it's fine. So yeah, we've also got a Patreon that, you know, if you are looking to support the podcast or any of our Fifth Trooper blog writers in any way, you can always head on over to patreon.com/the Fifth Trooper and support us there.
Yeah, and with that, we always talk about the blog writers in the podcast. I just, as a reminder, we also put out a number of tools for Legion as well. Legion HQ, the list builder, legionquickguide.com, which is, I went to a tournament over the weekend. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I went to a tournament and it was like legitimately super useful. And I basically just told everybody that was playing to load it up. And if they had any questions, to just go to that first and to find it. So we had a great, I think we have 2 great tools, and that's because of our Patreon supporters. And I can tell you that we have a couple other tools that we're working on. They're taking a little bit longer than I'd like them to, but we're definitely working on them, and that's all because of Patreon support, right? And so if you want to support all the great tools we have, these guys, all the great writers, please, just a couple bucks, and you'll get a free podcast out of it too. So
On the subject of Legion HQ, there's also a really cool tool built in that allows you to compare lists old and new points values with a simple swap of a button. So you not salty Empire players can see how much points you saved, and you super salty Republic players can cry in agony.
Yep. And Mike wants us to feel bad, but I don't. It's Empire's time, baby. Empire's time.
And Tim, where can we find you?
I will of course, I'm a blog writer, so on the Fifth Trooper blog, the article this week will actually be mine, and I think it will be on trying to rebut some of the Republic is dead talk. We'll see how successful I am.
We will see.
An article for everyone else as well as myself. You can also find me on Twitch at Timbo8700, so Timbo8700, where I hopefully will be streaming some more Invader League games in the coming days and weeks.
Yeah, and I'm also on the blog under my name, and I will be putting up an article next week, most likely, and it'll be about the new Empire. So not rebutting Salt, but embracing these changes and talking about all the amazing new things that we can do. So I look forward to not having to put a positive spin on Empire anymore. Empire just innately has a positive spin in this day and age. And then also you can find me on Twitch as well at TEKNOFOBIA. And real quick, this month on the 20th, we're having our Skirmish Tournament in SoCal. So if you're in the area, we'd love to see you there. It's called Kyber Combat. You can find it on the SoCal Legion page, as well as the Orange County and San Diego pages.
Awesome. All right. So we are definitely going to talk today about the changes with the errata and the points to the Separatists and the Rebels, the quote unquote white save factions. But first, we're going to go to our competitive Empire player with an update from this weekend.
Are we skipping the news?
Oh, geez. I'm sorry. I was so excited I had such a good lead in, Mike.
I take so much time to write these things out.
Mike, you could have just let it go. So Mike is so jealous about this whole Empire change that he couldn't just let that go and let it just move. Just go, you know what? We'll just do news after.
All right. We'll just redo the bit and pretend that I didn't mess that up after the news. How's that?
Great. Sounds good.
All right. Let's hit the news.
Welcome to the News.
I don't want him now, Kyle.
Well, I'm assuming Mike just superimposed the news drop over you saying that. So
I likely did.
So we have a new-ish release date for Yoda and the Wookiees in the United States, and that release date is March 31st.
2022 coming to a store near you.
Hey Tim, I got a loony saying that when they'll launch it at Adepticon and they'll be on the wrong bases. You want to take that?
I mean, can confirm they're all on the correct bases already, as I already have all that stuff.
Yeah, but you don't have the American version.
So maybe a better question. I think there was a couple of listeners that were like, haha, Mike ordering stuff from Tim would be funny in the comments a couple episodes ago. I might actually do that. Particularly, I know I don't want to get into politics on what TOs should or should not be doing, but it sounds like LVO is going to allow Wookiees and stuff even if they're not out in the US. So I kind of want to play Yoda and Wookiees at LVO, I think. So
yeah, the wording I believe that's being floated around is North America releases. Yeah. So if it's store league or legal in Canada, US, or Mexico, or the Central America, depending on how you count. But
so I'd like to bring up a sore topic here, but I don't care. So we can pretty much be certain now that with it moving to March, that this isn't a port issue. I would like to just point that out, that this isn't hey, we're waiting for it. It's circling the port at Long Beach. We don't know when it's going to get in issue. This is something bad happened. or they reallocated units. As you know, Tim's got a great theory on that. But like, I think something happened and they screwed up. Is my guess. I don't think it's a shipping receiving issue anymore.
I mean, we don't have any information really, so I think it's hard to say.
Yeah,
but
it's just based on
it seems
experience.
unlikely
Yeah.
that it would be stuck in the port for basically a year.
Well, the fact that it's so far behind all of the other stuff that is in the same quote unquote wave, like 4 months behind potentially, when it was supposed to release before then, I think is indicative of something happening specifically with, you know, the US Yoda Wookiee allocation / shipment, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, you know, I don't want to step all over Tim's theory, but you know, we were talking about this before, and you know, Tim, I think you were right. Like, it may not even be that something's wrong. It may be that they got them and they just realized they didn't have enough, and then they were like, "Oh, we're not going to have more until like Q2. We should probably just kind of hang on to these guys."
Yeah, especially with the Wookiees, considering how hot everyone considers them to be.
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing that's the case, in that I feel like if they had any sort of like, I don't know, if they have 1,000 of them, I still think that they go out to at least some stores in the US.
It just seems fishy. You know, it seems like
It's at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe. It seems like we printed the wrong logo on a box fishy, you know?
Sure.
I don't know.
I mean, maybe Wookiees just can't swim. Maybe that's the issue.
They can do everything else, but apparently not that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it is pretty normal business practice. Like if you have a lot of supply, or I'm sorry, a lot of demand, to not do sort of like a fake release. You know, just giving an example from not the miniatures game community, but like when some of these video cards a couple of years ago got released, they had so much demand that like on the release date, you know, maybe like 2% of the people that wanted one were able to get one, and then they called it like a paper release because they're like, well, you know, it's not a real release date because I can't even get one. So I could see that being a thing, like even if they only have, you know, like you said, 1,000 for the US or whatever, I could see them not doing the release date because, you know, lots of people have pre-orders with their local stores. People have pre-orders through the Asmodee site. How do you decide who gets what?
Mhm.
You know, do you send like one to each store? You know, do you send them to?
So let me
you know.
let me go down a little bit down the rabbit hole here. I don't know how many people out there are aware, but a few weeks ago, Asmodee was having a real problem with their website. They switched over to like a new system, it seemed like, and they lost some pre-orders for a while, for about 2 or 3 days. And so I am almost wondering if something's going on there too, that maybe they had so many pre-orders through Asmodee, like their normal system, that they were like, we can't even fulfill our own pre-orders, let alone like all the store and other pre-orders as well.
You know what would be super screwed up is if like during they had like pre-orders in an old system, they swapped to a new system, didn't realize they lost the pre-orders, so when they went to actually like manufacture them, they manufactured the wrong amount. Like I don't know, like that's sort of what this feels like.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That very well could be.
It feels like there's a supply demand issue, whether that was manufacturing or allocation issues or whatever. It feels like there isn't enough and they've sent them to some places and not all.
Yep.
I will say, like, I have a hard time envisioning them like forecasting this wrong. Like, it's pretty clear this is going to be like the biggest release that they probably have had outside of like the Clone Wars launch.
So here's what I bet you what happened. So maybe it's a combination of all of it. Maybe the US one was delayed, right? Because of all our, you know, bringing in stuff. So all the other around the world got theirs on time, and they were going to wait to release. But then by the time the US got theirs in, the demand had built up so much that they decided just to hold it to make sure they could get more, which the timeline seems about right for manufacturing for manufacturing. So the fact that it's moved back about 3 to 4 months, that lines up with about how long it would take to manufacture quantity and then have them put on a boat and shipped over, because it's about 45 days sea journey roughly, and then 2 to 3 months for shipping, or I mean manufacturing. So kind of makes sense. A lot of this is lining up, so oh well, I guess we'll just survive.
They've been perennially like underestimating the demand for Legion products basically since the game has existed.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
well, and there's a reason. Go ahead.
I was just say, to my understanding, it's beaten all their forecasts as far as how much it would grow. And like with the pandemic, I don't know how many game companies are expecting like exponential growth like Legion's seen. With the TTS community getting bigger, to my understanding, it's selling better than ever. And right, we just came out of pandemic where you couldn't even really play. So that also could, go into the expected less sense with the pandemic. Can't play in person as much.
Yeah, so I'm going to be looking at some Canadian websites right soon here and order them, have them shipped in.
Yeah,
that's what I did with Jin.
Pre-order, like it's holding up a bunch of other stuff at this point.
Yeah.
Yep. 401 Games, I think, is like their version of Miniature Market. Am I right, Tim?
As far as I understand it, the biggest Canadian website. Yeah.
401 Game.
This podcast paid for by 401 Game. No. Yeah, I'm sure there are some other ones you can use too, but I've heard of people basically just going to that site and ordering them directly from Canada and then shipping them to the US without problem. So
yep.
I mean, all the local game stores also have websites online too. So if you can't find them anywhere else, just find a store with a stock and send them an email and see if they'll ship to you.
Yep.
Yeah, they probably will. So all right. Now, before we hit our main topic of errata and points, we're going to go to our competitive Empire player who played in a tournament this weekend, Jay Schlansky. Tell us about it.
I just want to interrupt again before he does.
You
mess it up again.
So just to be clear, 401 Games is sold out of Wookiees and Yoda. So don't go there.
All right. Well, don't go there. All right. Never mind. Podcast not paid for by 401 Games. Go to browse the local stores, I guess.
Okay. Now Jay can give a spiel. It's fine.
All right, Jay. Competitive Empire player, go.
I don't even want to anymore. You know what? Mike's actually ruined it for me. He's so jealous that he lost and I won now that he can't even deal with it. So no, I don't even want to tell anybody now.
Woo! Man, mission accomplished. All right.
All right, so we're gonna move on to our points and errata section.
Fine with me.
No, Jay, please.
Watch if I care. Burn this whole podcast.
He's gonna make us beg. He's gonna make us all beg.
Next week we're gonna have all new hosts.
No, Mr. Competitive, please.
It'll be me, Evan, in a paper bag, and so I had a tournament this weekend. The TO at the store was nice enough that he basically reached out to all the players. And even though today we record on Monday, today was the legal date for all the erratas and points changes. He asked all the players if they'd be okay with it being legal for Saturday, and he did that like a week and a half in advance. So everyone said yes, and no one complained. So we got to play with the errata and the points changes. And yeah, it was awesome. I brought Empire, of course. I can give my list here, and then I just walk through a couple of my games. I'll say this real weird. There was no Vader at the tournament, but there was other competitive lists. Just Vader wasn't one of them. And when I was talking to a couple people, they kind of had the same feeling as I had, where we all thought the same thing, which is, oh, everyone's going to bring Vader, right? So I'll bring something different. And then literally no one brought Vader, so that was playing Empire. So it was funny. But yeah, so I brought a double ATST, double dewback, triple Sabs list. So basically it was ATST with General Vice with the twin light blaster, the mortar launcher, and link targeting ray. ATST with the elite armor pilot, which is the surge to hit, mortar launcher, twin light blaster, link targeting ray, 3 naked stormtroopers, 2 dewbacks with tenacity and T-21, and 3 strike teams with the saboteurs. And yeah, it was nasty. And so basically I knew, playing double heavy, it's basically you just put the heavies up front and just murder things that try to go into the lanes that that you're looking after. And with the dewbacks, it was nice to just have a backup. So like my first game I played, I think it was a 11 or 12 activation Grievous triple stabs list that we, I was red player, so I got to pick table side, which was huge for the list. And then, Kyle, you and I were kind of talking about this, but basically the list doesn't care what the deck is. It's just whole mission is murder. And so, so basically I think it was intercept the transmissions, which if you do the math on that, there's a lot of droids and a lot of trooper units in a droid list like that could have taken the transmission. But basically how the board was laid out was there was some terrain that you couldn't just walk through that was blocking the middle of the board, and the transmission was right behind there, and it was kind of towards my side. So basically there was 2 lanes that he could move through with the staps and the droids. I just basically put my 2 ATSTs there and put my 2 dewbacks around the transmission in the middle, and then put the sabs with they have Scout 3 now. So I basically just scouted up. We had advanced positions, just scouted up, put a bunch of mines around that middle transmission too, and then they left and just waited. And so, he had to get crazy with Grievous at one point. He came in and basically, he couldn't kill anything. Grievous tried to kill a dewback. He couldn't pull it off. Then he did his little twirly gun thing, and he killed 1 sab mini, and then the other sab unit that he tried to kill, because there's no pierce on that gun, they just rolled defense on white dice and nothing happened. And then the dewbacks had Grievous for breakfast, and that was it. And then second list I played against another Empire player that was ATST, double speeder bike veers, and some shores and mortars. We played key positions, and basically I just put the 2 ATSTs on the key position and then used the dewbacks to eat the bikes and stuff while they were trying to fly around. And then the last one honestly was probably the closest, and it was a Shriv bus R2 Opfoot Luke triple Wookiee, and then I think it was 2 naked regular rebel troopers and 2 naked fleet troopers. And that one got forced into recover, because if the way it had worked out, if I had bounced to recover, he basically bounced the first one. I bounced the first one after it was payload, and the way the board was set up, I didn't want to do payload. And then he had his first, I was red player, and his first bounce was, I believe it was advanced positions. And so we basically, because the board just wasn't set up for that for him. So if I had bounced recover, it would have gone to sabotage, and I definitely didn't want that. So I was like, you know what, let's test it with recover. And basically we played, it was hemmed in, and then what's that condition? Sorry, it dropped out of my head. Limited viz. And so basically I was red on hemmed in, and I just sat my 2 ATSTs pointed at the middle box, basically daring him to come after it, and then flanked with my Wookiees on one side. And then he tried to pop R2 on the other side, and I just stopped them with the stormtroopers. And I grabbed the boxes with my sabs. He tried to put Luke on the bus, and he came back behind my lines and then tangled up with a stormtrooper and a sab for the box that I had. And basically I just withdrew, and then the 2 ATSTs just annihilated Luke. And then the dewbacks were really good against the Wookiees, and he tried to come around the flank, but I had the dewbacks there, and they just charged and just were kind of holding the Wookiees back from doing anything else. And by the time it was all done, I had a stormtrooper unit in the middle, grabbed the box, and went on my merry way. So yeah, so I ended up taking first place, which was cool. I was really happy with the list. I mean, those were 3 super diverse lists. I think, that all had separate challenges that I was really happy to see the list hold its own against. So I found with the Sabs are really interesting now, because unlike the snipers, right, you're not trying to keep them back to just do the sniper. So you're in the mix. I found that their 4 black the guns were just as effective, if not better, than the Sabs and some of the actual bombs and some of the circumstances. And so I ended up shooting a lot. The first game, because it was my first time playing with Sabs in a while, I was like bomb, like I got really bomb happy. But then by the 3rd game, I was just kind of like shooting at Luke with them, shooting at so yeah, I mean, great stuff. I'm really excited. Really interesting to see some of the stuff people could put together with the errata and points changes. And I don't know, it was really a good feeling to have an Empire list that seemed insane on paper, like actually hold its own against competitive and good players too, good players, good competitive lists. So it was nice.
How many points would your list have been before the update?
Yeah, so you want before first, or what it ended up being?
Both.
Okay, so I'll give you, it ended up being 793 with the new points. With the old points, it was 839.
So almost 50 points.
Yeah, and even the other thing is, right, I would have had to have a commander because General Vice at that time wasn't a field commander. Right. So that was the change too, which really helped.
Your list only got a better with errata despite being 50 points cheaper.
Yeah.
How'd you like the General Weiss no exhaust?
It was good. It was interesting. So at one point I ended up kicking a set of droids, mortaring a set of droids, and then like large cannon and the light cannon into Staps. So ended up killing like 3 things, all with with the ATST in it. And I didn't even have to think about it because there was no tap, so no exhaust. So it's just like, yeah, we're gonna do this. And so that was crazy. Yeah, I think it was good. Really good. Yeah, the dewbacks, I think everybody's known that for a while, that they've been good, but now that they're reasonably priced, it's
hang on, reasonably priced. They were reasonably priced a month ago. And then they got 5 more points off.
Yeah, I think they're pretty aggressively priced now.
I would say that's reasonable for the Empire and where we were at. I don't know what about what I just said was wrong. But yeah, I mean, it's great. I really think this may be a testament to all you Empire players out there, that I know we talk a lot about Vader and how good he is now, but I think this clearly shows that there's a bunch of other insane lists that you can put together that I think can hold their own, as long as this wasn't a big leap for me because I've been playing double heavy for a long time. So I'm already kind of used to how the list plays, but adding some of this other really neat stuff was just amazing, and it felt good, and it felt better than I've felt in a long time with Empire, where I just felt like I was in it, and yeah, it was good. It was great. So that's it. I'm done now, Mike. You can talk now. I know you were being quiet that whole time because of your raging jealousy over.
I'm not jealous.
Mike was a Vader player for the first 2 years of the game.
And then he abandoned it quicker than you can say Vader.
Something like that.
So did I. I haven't played Empire since 2019. So.
Yeah, there
you go.
Welcome back.
Yeah, we'll see. Every Empire list I look at, I'm like,
that's
how
a
does
lot.
That fit?
Yeah. I feel like one of these units should not be able to fit in this list.
Yeah, I threw out it was like a Krennic Death Trooper double bounty plus loaded storms list earlier today, and I was like, really? Okay. Because the problem with double bounty has always been that, you know, you don't have order control over both bounty hunters because they can only order themselves. But with the comms relay and entourage, you can basically like always have an order on both bounty hunters. It just solves that problem. And then you also have death troopers, you know, with their heavy upgraded with Krennic. And then you have, I think it also had like 3 storms with specialists in it, and then 3 snipers. It's like, all right.
Rex got compelled to deal with suppression, so you can do all the specialists for super cheap core.
Exactly.
Super cheap but strong core.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like every list that I make with Empire, I'm like, wow, so many things.
I know, I'm trying to think what I want to try and practice, like trying to look towards LVO. And I'm like, oh, I want to try all of these. I don't have time.
Yeah. It's literally everything. All right. Well, let's talk about not Empire. Let's talk about the Rebels and the Separatists. Why don't we hit the Separatists first, because they got slightly less changes. They probably got the least number of changes in this update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that's a fair assessment. I've seen a lot of jokes kind of around the community over the past couple weeks about like how they like stealth got away with not getting significant nerfs.
Well, droids have always been the faction that's kind of like the everything is pretty good, but nothing is like too good.
Yeah.
Yep. Overall, I would agree with that assessment.
All right, the biggest one probably was Grievous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the biggest one? All right, so Grievous
points wise,
15. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Grievous minus 15 points, his Annihilator minus 4, so minus 19 points off Grievous.
So, I mean, I guess like, I don't know. Grievous falls into the category of like doesn't play well with the rest of the army. Maybe that changes with Magna Guard. I don't know. But I feel like him and Cad Bane are kind of in weird spots as far as like being characters in this army. I don't know if this is like enough to like be like, oh yeah, I'd rather have Grievous than like Maul in my army, you know, or I'd rather have Grievous than Dooku. Like force push is like a pretty essential part of that kit. I don't know.
I think with Magna Guards, you do have a little more potential. Like you can bring a fully kitted out Grievous with 3 kitted out Magna Guards and fit all points wise. And one, you know, key point with that versus Maul is you can put aggressive tactics on Grievous, which makes your core a bit tougher, right? Because that means you can take the E5Cs on all your B1s and extra men. So it kind of gives you a beefier line. And then well, for objective play, right, your side, you don't have force push. For most melee things, right, you got 3 Magna Guards and Grievous, so you can just kind of slam into them to deal with it.
I guess my fundamental question is, you know, you can give up 55 points or 60 points, like, and just take Kraken, who like kind of does what Grievous does anyways, and has a bunch of like cool strategic abilities that will sync, you know, combo with the rest of your army.
I do think though, like Grievous's 1 pip in the world of Wookiees running in your face is pretty good.
No doubt. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and like a fully kitted out Grievous is in the range of 170 points. So if you end up paying 170 points for something that'll cut some units up and drop a big 1 pip, that might be enough. I think he goes from never seen competitively to at least he's an option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it as kind of like if you're looking to create like an all-comers list, right? And like to go back to the tournament, that like the play with that Grievous where he jumped like just like basically scaled over a building and was like in my lines trying to kill my stuff. You know, if the dice roll had gone a little bit differently, like he potentially could have, and that would have kind of changed the dynamics a little bit, you know. And I think that that's what Grievous brings to the table is like an opportunity to kind of like put out the aggressive tactics, give surge to some of your droids, but then also do something crazy, right? Like in the middle of your line that you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. He could do what? And like, he's versatile shooting all this stuff. And so that gets a little weird. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's a place for him. I think it's just building a list around him and understanding that he's in certain lists, he's going to be out on an island, doing his own thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
also think in an aggressive meta, his 2-pip gets a little better. A big issue with it typically was, right, Grievous dives, but none of the rest of your army does. You don't have many Guardian targets to use with that. Now when you have Wookiees crashing into your lines for most armies, right, now it's more conceivable you'll have B1s nearby to use this 2-pip and, tank a bunch of hits that way. So I think that card does also get a little bit better in aggressive meta, right? Taking 2 hits off of a dewback charge or a Wookiee charge. Or other Magna Guards. There's a whole lot of things running into your lines, and so now it's more likely that you might be in melee with Grievous or fighting with Grievous while you have B1s nearby.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, his biggest issue is courage. It's going to be funny with seeing him fighting Wookiees that now have demoralized and just kind of shut him down. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, although it's really only like 3 suppression tokens, so total on demoralized. So it's not like
I mean, that's really all you need to shut a Grievous down.
I know, but you don't get them all at once either. It's like it takes you 3
sure.
activations to do that. So
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. The courage has always been his issue. And he's only got the 1 training slot. So you kind of want to take, like, there's so many things you want to put in that training slot. You want to take into the fray, you want to take tenacity, you want to take endurance because his courage is a problem. Whereas, the other choices, like you said, you can kind of quote unquote downgrade to Kraken. And Kraken is not quite as beefy. He's not as tough. He's not quite as mobile. He doesn't hit as hard in melee, but he's got all these great command cards and support abilities. And his ranged attack is actually arguably better than Grievous is. And
he has access to the orbital bombardment too for ranged.
Right. Yep. So his command cards are like significantly better. He's just not quite as pure beef in melee as Grievous is. Or you could just take, pay more points to get Dooku. You get all his excellent support abilities and command cards and force powers. He's just kind of like in that awkward middle ground where you're already kind of paying a lot for a commander. You might as well just fork over the extra points for a force user. He does kind of get you, he gets you the retinue on the Magna Guards in contrast to Maul, which is nice. But yeah, if he had like 3 training slots, I think he'd be amazing because then you take into the fray tenacity and endurance, and then his courage is not as big of an issue.
Yeah.
But clearly there's no nothing has 3 training slots, so there's no thematic reason for that to be a thing.
I just, I think an easy fix here is just courage 3, but yeah, we'll see.
Courage 3 would definitely. He's like the only melee focused character in the game that has courage 2.
I think there's Sabine also, but right, she gets dauntless if she goes melee, so it kind of covers that up.
And she has a recover card.
She's also almost. I mean, I guess not almost
she's
always, but
ranged.
She's ranged, and she also like is often like in an army that has access to a courage 3 commander.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And a lot more ways to remove courage.
Yeah. It strikes me as interesting that Grievous is like the lowest courage value of all the force users. Like,
flavor wise, I think it makes sense.
I mean,
right?
I guess. Like I would assume that like a Jedi apprentice would be like courage 2, right? And Grievous should just like roll up on them and be like, yo, you're dead. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I could easily see the case for him having Indomitable.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, courage 2 Indomitable. Yeah. Anyway, the points cuts are probably enough that you see him a little bit.
Maybe.
But maybe not a lot of it. I guess we'll see.
I mean, a Grievous Magna Guard bomb will probably be seen out, tried out at least a little bit.
That's probably the context where you see it most. All right, B1s. So naked B1s went up by 2 points. and all of the weapons went down by 2 points, and the rad cannon went down by 6 points. So basically, like this is a pure cost increase to naked B1s, and then the points wash out with B1s with heavies.
Yeah. Overall good change.
Yeah,
I don't love the rad cannon change. I think there's a lot hating out like characters and red save units right now as it is, but you know, I guess we don't see rad cannons. I'm not sure I want to see more that hates out those units. So
Poison's a pretty uninteractive mechanic. It's definitely not a weapon that's particularly good, at least in the hands of a B1 unit, because they're not an assault unit.
No.
If you could give this to like a B2 unit, it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But you can't, thankfully for balance reasons. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, at the 6 points, you might see like some meme lists with rad cannons. I don't know, but at the end of the day, there's still B1s. So getting to range 2, it's you'll probably still mostly just see these guys with the E5C or the E5S.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the real meme with the B1s and rad cannons is put a Viper Droid in there too. It's like 62 points or something.
Yeah.
For 8 bodies and the 8 white dice, 2 red. Gets interesting.
Spicy.
That is kind of interesting, actually. The Viper Droid also got 2 points cheaper.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to bring a snail tank because you wanted to bring a snail tank and you had nothing else to put in the back of it, a cheap rad cannon unit is probably a decent idea.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't cost you much. That's for sure.
Yep.
I think since we brought up the Viper Droid, I think the Viper Droid is also could potentially be an interesting option in like a B2, right? It's a bit cheaper. It adds 1 health, 2 dice at range 2, which synergizes. The normal B2 is 13 points for an extra body. So you're getting half a damage less and half the health for, less than half the cost. Seems like a reasonable deal.
I think if you're bringing Kraken with B2s and you don't want to bring the T series because then you just use override, then the Viper is a possibility for those reasons you stated, because it is quite a bit cheaper now.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how we ended up with 6-point personnel upgrades with B2 that had a gun, but I'm sorry, this seems a little like, even if it's not good, probably shouldn't exist.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know.
Don't get me wrong, the Viper Droids were bad. Like nobody was taking Viper Droids, but sometimes that's okay.
Yeah.
Like that's sometimes better than the alternative of it being too good. So
this is definitely a situation where I would rather them see you go to like spotter 4 or even 5 and stay at like 8 to 10 points than be spotter 3 and be 6 points.
I think it's only spotter 2, isn't it?
Is it spotter 2?
It's observed 2.
Oh,
Observed,
sorry.
yeah.
If it's spotter, it'd be amazing.
I think Viper Recon droids could easily just be free action observe 1 and you just cost them appropriately and it would be fine.
Yep, I agree.
But yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just really awkward because now they're so cheap that like
they're not quite free, but they're pretty close.
Right. Yeah, they're 1 more point than the naked B1.
Yeah.
2 more.
2 more points.
The naked
B1 went
down
down too, which
yeah, it's
again,
down to 4 points now.
Like I'm not sure that like naked B1 upgrade should only be 4 points. I don't know. We're definitely in the like.
Yeah, the personnel upgrades. I don't know how I feel. Not even just these ones, but like the Stormtrooper ones, and I don't know.
I've made some pretty degenerate specialist lists in clones and Empire. I think a lot of people. The thing about the captain is that he just gives you O push, which is just tactical, right? So you're not really netting an aim. It's just like you having the aim that you would have had if you stayed still.
Right.
The specialist allows you to like aim.
Right. He gives you an actual extra aim.
Yeah. So I think with Vader Compel and everything going on, like there's gonna be some things.
Yeah. With Krennic being so ridiculously cheap.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm with
We'll
you.
see. We'll see.
Yeah, anyway. Any other thoughts on B1s?
They
They're
exist.
good before, and they're still pretty good.
Yeah.
Good. Everything's
think-
good.
I think this probably hits like the double AAT style lists the most,
Yeah.
where it's literally just like spamming as many naked B1s as possible with your heavy pieces.
I mean,
Um,
it costs you 12 more points to bring 6 naked B1s, which is
Yeah.
probably a good change.
Yep,
Also, the AAT went up 5 points.
it did.
One thing to note though is that list used to bid what, like 30 something points in some cases.
Not quite
So,
30, but yeah, 20 something.
yeah, I guess 26 was what I think Luke's was, Luke
Yeah.
Cook's list. And
Yep.
so now that's 10 points was 12,
22 points.
22. So
Yeah.
now you still have a 4-point bid, and we're in a world where that bid is much less important. So I think it kind of evens out. That
Yeah,
list
it
is
might.
probably still fine.
I mean, I think that list also gets hurt by the blue red player changes. Blue player was pretty important for how that list functioned. I think that's probably a good thing. Don't get me wrong. It is not a very interactive list as someone who faced it at Atlanta
Yeah.
City, but yeah, it's probably accumulation of things. You probably don't see that list as much anymore. All right, B2HA +2.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
I guess.
Again, you're bidding 20 something points. Not the hugest deal for those kind of lists.
I feel like B2s were already kind of on their way out. How many?
I'm
Didn't
sorry.
we talk about this
wait,
last?
wait. What do you mean B2s were already on their way
How many?
out?
How many B2s were in Invader Elims before the points changes?
I don't know. I'd have to look.
Wasn't it around 40? Or was it
I think
less
there's
than that?
still a lot. I had 3 Mall B2 lists in my group.
No, in Elims.
Oh, and Elims, I have no idea.
I think it was 6, like 6 total.
Yeah,
That might
but
be right.
I mean that's fair. I do think using Invader as like a metric for what will be is a little questionable at the moment.
I'm just saying, like, they're getting more expensive from an environment in which they were taken 6 times across an 80-person tournament. So
Yeah, I think people are trying out new spider droidy stuff, and
Mhm.
you know,
yeah, don't get me wrong. It's a good unit, as sort of the poster child for B2HAs. But I think it would like taking basically you were taking like 1 to 3 B2HAs in every sys list, which seems like okay to me. That's, you're mixing your core. That's probably less of a mix and match than you were seeing in the like phase 2, phase 1
Mhm.
heydays,
yeah,
or like the shore trooper or rebel vet. You see lists that have 3 shores and 3 rebel vets in them. So
yeah. I mean,
don't know.
I don't know. I'm okay with this. I think B2s were the previous points adjustment to B2s was far too aggressive, so I'm okay with what happened here.
Yeah, it's just 2 points. I don't
yeah,
think
it's at the end of the
Right.
day, it's probably like whatever.
Yeah.
But all right. Dooku -5.
Dooku is already pretty good. Makes
Yeah.
him a bit better.
Basically, you get burst of speed for free now. Yeah,
Well, I mean, burst speed is usually less points than other upgrades you take. So
totally. But,
Yeah.
but now you can, fill that slot and also have 2 points.
yeah.
Um,
Like Dooku's probably 7 points cheaper now than his previous configuration.
Or even 12, because you might replace barrier with
Mhm.
burst of speed.
Yeah, it depends on what upgrades you want, but yeah, he's a handful of points cheaper, which is fine.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
good
and
with this.
I think bringing him down and Palpatine down both 5 points, right, really helped make them, especially in today's meta, like made you kind of look at them again, right? Like take a second look and go, oh yeah, they're good. I forgot about that. Now they're a little bit cheaper, so I can, even maybe do some like double force user lists in both of those, which are reasonable now, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Palpatine
think-
was -10 for the record.
I think Dooku, right, was becoming a little outshined by Maul in many cases. And so with the buffs that he gets just innately from burst of speed now being an option for him, and also the 5 points, I think it's much less clear. I don't think Maul is as much of a snap take over Dooku.
Yeah, I agree. And I know people were like, where's the Maul nerfs in here? I kind of feel like Maul was where, and maybe we see this change with burst of speed in a bad way, but like in an environment where burst of speed doesn't exist, I kind of feel like Maul was sort of where force users should have been.
Yeah. 100%.
So I'd rather them sort of make more force users like Maul than make Maul like the rest of the force users. And it seems like the sort of flavor of this update is along those lines.
You know what? It turns out they thought the same thing as you, so they just were the only force users they're going to print moving forward are Maul because Yoda has been delayed. So, and I'm pretty sure the next force user that we have on the docket is Maul. So yeah,
is it possible that Maul 2.0 actually like beats Yoda to the shelves?
I mean, they said Q1 2022. I thought.
Yeah, you could.
Possible, yes. That would be hilarious. And I will happily mail you your delayed Maul when it comes to Canada first.
Oh yeah, if Maul comes to
gets
Canada
delayed.
first, I will be 100% ordering Maul from you.
Yeah. Do you take crypto and switch that into Canadian dollars? Send you some.
I mean, we only take loonies here.
Yeah.
I'll order him from like Italy or something if I have to. Anyway, all right. Yeah, it seems fine. Cad Bane -5.
Yeah, I don't know if that's enough to really bring him in over Maul.
I mean, so I want to pitch the question to the group. What points value would Cad Bane need to be in order for you to entertain taking him in a separatist army? Like,
I think
what's
like
the threat?
115 and his gauntlet should maybe be free or a lot cheaper than this. What is it? 8 points right now for the gauntlet?
I'd say like 110.
I was gonna say 100.
I mean, that's more in line with where I'm at too. Yeah.
So-
what about you, Jay?
Yeah, I was gonna say like 100. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's an important caveat to this conversation, and that is that they basically told us that the bounty hunters would be getting changes
Yeah.
when the Shadow Collective wave hit.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like both Cad Bane and Boba especially. I'm like kind of ignoring the change, like their 5 points decrease, because theoretically that's going to be irrelevant in a couple months, hopefully, if not in the next half year.
Right. Yeah. So this to me is kind of like, who cares? Maybe we'll have a different version of Cad Bane in 6 months anyway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Or some rules, like maybe it's the same version just with different rules in like the faction or something that makes them better. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
There's changes that come in, whatever those are.
Yep. All right. Staps +2. Now 75 instead of 73, in case that bothered you.
It bothered me greatly. Yeah. Okay.
It seems like
Seems fine, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like to me, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, but it seems like across all the different factions, they're like trying to line up similar things and make them similarly costed. But like I'm going, okay, but they're not equal. You know, Staps and speeder bikes just aren't.
I mean, speeder bikes are 5 points cheaper now, so
Now, but you know what but like I'm just like maybe Staps need to be a little bit more. I think maybe, you know, like I don't know.
Well, they are, right? Even both parks and
no, I mean, but even more, maybe.
I think
they're 20 more points than Barks now.
Yeah.
Naked Barks.
Yeah, I know.
No, 15 or sorry, Staps. Yeah, never mind.
I do think, you know, Staps do kind of like melt to a gentle breeze. And some of the other speeder bikes don't, but I also think, to your point, you know, the Staps tend to be surrounded by things that are much cheaper than like what other factions have access to as far as their bikes go.
They also have coordinate, which is a big deal for bikes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that coordinate's probably worth, I don't know,
20.
10 to 15. Yeah, I guess maybe 20. I don't know.
It's at least 10 because that's what an HQ uplink is.
Yeah.
Well, coordinate's a lot. Yeah, you're right. Coordinate's a lot better than HQ uplink.
I mean, yeah, and they have Agile 1. So you're telling me Agile 1, coordinate, they have 3 black dice. They don't have impact, but like it's only five points more. Like, come on.
I'm not gonna defend. I think
Empire bike should have coordinate also.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not sure you can like continue to lower Empire bikes points to make them competitive at this point. You need to just make them their unit card better. Yeah.
Yeah. Give them cover 2 or something.
Well, this happens sometimes, right? Like there's almost a fear to make some of these bigger changes to units that have been out for a while. Like I don't know if you guys, like I know we just did with Vader, but like with some of the older units, it's harder to get those changes through for some reason. I don't know the exact reason why, but like, we get the new hotness and they have all these special new abilities and all these cool things that granted didn't exist, when the first ones came out, but at some point you would think you would go, okay, yeah, point, like Mike just said, points isn't enough. We need to do something else to kind of boost these guys and make them at least reasonably competitive.
Yeah. And I think, sorry, go ahead, Lucas.
Oh, I was just saying yes. So go ahead.
Okay.
As an Empire player, he was agreeing with me.
I was just concurring. I concur.
I think Staps are kind of where like speeder bikes should be as far as effectiveness is concerned. And I'd rather them just make speeder bikes more like Staps than try and make Staps more like speeder bikes,
Yeah.
I do think, and we might have touched on this before. I don't remember if this was a private conversation we're having or if we had it on the podcast, but like coordinates like a droid keyword, right? So putting it on Empire units feels a little weird.
Thematically, yeah, it's kind of weird. But if you look at just from a balance and mechanics perspective, the fact that you have, basically a focus piece, right? A unit of 3 speeder bike type units, you could argue is a focus piece. And that focus piece sucks up 3 orders, which is not always feasible.
Yeah.
But, if you've got orders on 2 of your bikes, but not the other one, like that's not good. That's not going to work for you. And that's why speeder bikes work mechanically, is because they don't suck up 3 orders. They suck up 1 order.
Staps.
Staps. I'm sorry. Yes. That's why Staps work, right? Because you have your one focus piece, which is 3 separate units sucking up an order in the same way that like, a character or a heavy would.
What if you made HQ uplink 5 points cheaper, specifically on speeder bikes, similar to the jetpack is cheaper on Rex, and then it like synergizes with Veer's 3 pip and stuff, and so it's kind of like a bike's own flavor of having a similar effect.
It'd be interesting.
I was even gonna say too, even if Empire had a like 2 pip command card that just ordered 3 speeder bikes.
Make Veer's 2 pip, just 3
but
orders.
like, or just like another one. Like if you just had another generic that was just like order 3 speeder bikes, but it's a 2 pip, because then suddenly you have like 3 cards that can give 3 speeder bikes in order. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's many ways of going about it. It doesn't have to be coordinate, but you need a coordinate like effect for the speeder bikes, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They needed some sort of order control enabled.
Yep.
I think going back to Staps real quick, with the 2 points going up and Droidica's going down 5 points, right? They're both sitting at 75 now. And I don't think the 2 points is huge for Staps, but right in CIS right now, you can bring pretty much everything before this point. I mean, Grievous and Cad Bane weren't really played, and same with Droidica's. So I kind of first saw that bumping it up 2 points, bringing down the Droidica's 5 points is them trying to attempt to make Droidica's more of an attractive option between these 2.
I have a random question. Is it Droidicas or Droidecas? Because I think we all say it different ways, and I want to know what it is.
Oh,
Where are those Droidicas?
Yeah.
Right.
I've
That's
always
definitely
said,
what they say in the movie.
I've always said Droidicas.
so I think it is Droidecas, but I think the Nemoidians have an accent with it, so it sounds like Droidicas. And so those of us that learned the name through the movie and not reading it might be mispronouncing it.
I'm not, no judgment either way. I'm just genuinely curious.
Sorry, I just have that Nemoidian accent going.
Yeah, I love some Droidecas, but I don't think that this is enough for you to take them over Staps.
Well, and on top of that, a loaded dwarf spider droid with upgrades is also sitting around 75 points.
I mean, the spider droids are gonna go up in price. Like, there's no way they survive another update intact.
Well, especially I think the ion gun more than the spider droid.
That's
itself.
Very possible.
I literally bought into CIS and am immediately ordering 3 ion droids because they're a fun time.
I also ordered 3 ion droids. Well, and it doesn't help that the ion specifically just like wrecks droidicas in the mirror. Like it burns their shields, it costs them actions, and they have a white save, so the chances of actually getting ioned are pretty high.
Yeah, I think they just do everything droidicas too, but better, frankly.
Agree.
Did you guys, by the way, speaking of the spider droids, did you see that paint job that Killian Young did? He posted it into the Star Wars Legion group. Dude, it was so good. So good. Check it out. If you're in the Facebook group, on Star Wars Legion Facebook group, people post a lot of cool stuff in there, a bunch of painting. It's cool.
I try and avoid the Facebook. Personally. The painting stuff is great. The other stuff,
Hashtag meta.
yeah, right. Anyway, there is one more change here, and that is the AAT +5. We kind of already talked about it, but any other thoughts on this one?
Yeah. Okay.
AAT kind of seemed like one of the best heavies, maybe just by a little bit, and so 5 points doesn't seem like a huge change for a unit that's already 170. So I don't totally hate it, but I don't know if it is necessary, especially with some of the changes that ATSD is now.
Yeah, I wish this was on the high velocity shells instead of the AAT. That's how I feel about this change. I don't think that the AAT naked really needed a points increase. I think the high velocity shells, basically whatever you take them on, could have been a 5-point bump.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, none of the shells got any changes, which was a little surprising to me.
Yeah, me too. And I think that, like, what is it, a 7-die pool that's 6 red, 1 white, that often has like an aim token behind it with the AAT is really the problematic interaction behind that unit, if there is a problematic interaction.
Well, and regardless, like, you're still taking the high velocity shells, even if you make the shells 5 points.
Oh, totally.
AAT.
Yeah,
100%.
You achieve the same points
achieve
change,
the same
but
thing.
yeah.
Yep, I'm with you.
Yep.
All right, should we hit Rebels?
Oh, yeah, a lot going on here.
Yep. Wookiees +10, T40. No, just kidding.
Oh, excuse me.
I wish.
No, Wookiees and T47 not touched in this one.
Hid their little heads down behind cover.
So this is where this whole points change errata thing breaks down a little bit for me from a what were they trying to achieve perspective, because a lot of this feels like they're reacting to like the meta of a year ago, but the rebel changes, like the bus changes, like are like immediate, like snap reactions. It feels like the bus really hasn't been out that long. But there's no Wookiee changes anywhere.
Yeah, my thought with that is, right, I think a lot of people have it misconstrued, right? They Wookiees have been out for a while, and they didn't think Wookiees are a problem, really, because just not many people are playing them. At least, 2 Invader Leagues ago, I think Cowboy Tyrone was one of the few people really spamming it. And then the bus came out, and people went to, oh, what's the best thing to bring at the bus? And they started bringing Wookiees. And that started highlighting that the bus was a good unit, but Wookiees were super strong. But I think since that entire list gained popularity, when the bus came out, people instantly went, oh, the bus is the issue, and kind of glossed over the fact that I think it was more the Wookiees were the issue, and the buses just convinced everyone to start playing Wookiees.
Hang on. The bus is also an issue.
The bus definitely. I think the bus isn't not necessarily an overpowered issue. It just has like things that break the game a little bit.
And I would say too, based on timing, right? And like when they were supposed to have these released, like I don't know that the Wookiees were really being played yet by the time I would assume they finished the changes to, for final submission. And then, because if you think about back, like what was it, ACO and maybe the next one after that, the buses with not many Wookiees, but buses were mostly crushing things. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, by the end of the summer, like, oh, Wookiees. But by that time, AMG had already started talking about how they had the erratas and points changes coming. And so they must have already been in the pipe, and it was probably too late to like slap Wookiees down at that time too. And I mean, I think they're always going to be behind as far as changes to where the meta is going to be.
Yeah,
right?
they're totally always going to be behind. I found that interesting as well. So
yeah, I mean, SoCal Open was really the first tournament where like busless Wookiees made any sort of real impact.
Yeah.
And that was 2 days before the errata released. So
get ready, friends, because it won't be the last.
Oh yeah, my Wookiees were like 75% painted for SoCal. They're going to be 100% painted. I'm going to go back and finish those guys for sure.
I painted my Wookiees too.
There you go.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
Yes. And Wookiees were one of those units that like is so iconic to Star Wars and was so bad for a while. There's probably also a little bit of resistance, which I don't know is it's hard to like let go of that a little bit, because it's really not good for balance. But anyway, tangent. So what did actually get changed? Han Solo.
Yep.
He gained steady. And he benefits from a lot from the low profile change where it cancels a hit.
Man, that low profile change is so good. I played with it on Saturday. Oh my god, so good, so good.
You mean, with the sabs, you mean?
Yeah. They're like, okay, heavy cover, so that's 3. I mean, like,
I don't know why people don't just like full scouts are 48 points.
Yeah.
You talked about shooting with the guns a lot. Full scouts would be basically the same cost, but you get twice as many black dice at range too, and twice as many wounds.
So crazy.
Who'd have thunk we'd be ever talking about full scouts? But right now we're talking about Han Solo, who, steady is a great keyword. It's one of the best keywords in the game. So Han was pretty poorly off from a competitive perspective. He was basically nowhere to be found. So his cost does not change. He's still 100 points. He's still Courage 2. I don't know. What do you guys think of this?
He's going to be around.
Makes him a lot more playable. Like, I don't know if he's going to be the end all be all for Rebels. But now if you ask me, are you taking Cassian versus Han? I think that's more of a question than, right? Before it was just snap take Cassian and then whatever else you want to bring.
So I like this change. I think it's something that should be part of this kit. I don't think this does anything as far as getting to see Han in the meta. I think Cassian is still very auto take over Han, just from a flexibility standpoint. And I don't know. I just like, he also like doesn't synergize with what the faction is doing super well. He's kind of slow to get to the fight, and maybe steady fixes that. But I mean, I think Rebels are going to be playing a lot of heavies and a lot of Wookiees, and I don't know Han, I don't think synergizes with those units super well, personally.
I mean, getting to the fight just that way, like Han Solo's threat range went from range 3 to range 4, which is a pretty big increase.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely better, but I don't know how much better.
I think there might be room for like a revisit of the Flyboys list that was gaining some popularity right before Tauntauns, and I think maybe like a Han Solo OP Luke list. You'd have to flesh out the rest of it, but I think there might be something there. Because I like the idea of messing with people's hands. If you put like Han and some Wookiees, and then you're like forcing them, with Reckless to like, forcing them to shoot at them first or something. I mean, I think there's some play there that it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like Han's engagement range is range 2. Like, yes, he can, like from the start of the turn, he can get to range 4, but like a range 2 gun puts him basically in charge range of Wookiees in order to engage, who one-shot him almost 100% of the time. If they're able to melee him, assuming they have offensive push. And so I don't know. I mean, also like the steady keyword like makes it so that he wants to like sit behind a piece of terrain, which likely is scalable.
I mean, you're definitely, if you're bringing Han, you're probably bringing Chewie. And I actually think he could be kind of interesting in a Wookiee list, because Reckless Diversion gets a little more interesting with that low profile change. And directing fire away from your Wookiees is a good idea. So I could actually see him, in like a triple Wookiee list with Chewie, and just go sort of all in on the Wookiee damage reduction, so to speak. Because Chewie can pull Guardian hits off the Wookiees, and then Han can use Reckless Diversion to do a similar thing.
I also think the range to being able to get charge isn't totally fair in the steady, since you can move forward, shoot from steady for free, and then back up. So you are a bit safer from that charge threat range. And right, IRG and also Magnas, right, only pierce immune and melee, so you could get some decent damage off of some charging IRG or Magnas or Wookiees, right, by moving forward, shooting, and backing up. So you no longer, although that means they can move shoot you though, and they're also pretty good at range too. But notably, you get right low profile then, which is pretty huge.
Yeah, I think you'd definitely want to give them environmental gear so you can like move full speed over those barricades and stuff when you're doing your steady shots.
Yeah, I could see Ascension Cables too. Ascension Cables combo is super well with steady. You can, like move, scale, shoot, move back down, right? Yeah, that seems good.
All right. R2 plus 10.
Good.
Yeah, I think in Rebels, good change.
100% awesome. Might need to be more in Rebels. We'll see.
I love this change, and I also don't. Clearly, it was necessary to nerf R2 in some fashion. I would have personally, I think it would have been much more targeted to just make secret mission deployment neutral. We kind of noted this last week with Republic, but this kind of price is like C3PO out of existence. Like, are you going to take him at 70 points?
Not when you can have K2.
No, clearly. Yeah. So I would have rather seen like a fixed to secret mission than this, but this is clearly better than nothing at all, because R2 needed to be nerfed, and this is a 10-point increase. So I think people are probably still going to take R2 in those aggro style lists. They're just going to run them as, they're going to, whereas previously they were bidding, now they're just not bidding. This is just kind of cuts into their bidded, probably. Which is good in that like it makes it harder for those lists to, bid for the R2 deployments, and it makes it somewhat more likely that like a non R2 list is going to have the short edge to short edge deployments in them and actually get to use them because it's cutting into the R2 player's bid. But, you know, another view on the R2 list, and this is the one that I took when I ran an 800 point R2 list, is I'm sort of using him as a way to hedge against other R2s, because if I'm playing long edge to long edge deployments, I have my own R2. If I'm not, then I still have him around to like repair stuff and maybe make a last minute dive for an end zone. So I don't know how much of a difference this makes in practice, but it clearly was needed. So
yeah, I mean, I think the new thing is just like Shriv R2 is going to need to get nerfed in some way, shape, or form. I don't know how it's going to happen, but this definitely doesn't hit it hard enough. And for those that don't know what that is, because we really haven't talked about it, Shriv allows you to give a unit a suppression token and a dodge token. And you can give R2 the suppression and dodge token while he's in the bus, have him get out, and he's just basically immune to all fire unless you kill the bus. It's really silly.
You can also even do it in a Landspeeder.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that, but you totally could for like way less points, couldn't you?
Yeah, for way less points, you can also, if you wanted to keep R2, because the only problem with that is then suddenly your timing gets a little bit weird because you need to make sure that Shriv puts the suppression on R2 before he gets shot.
Yeah.
But if you have Cassian and K2 in the list, first thing K2 does in the game is calculate onto R2, and then Shriv every turn just tops up the suppression one. So then you have a mortal R2 and as long as the Landspeeder doesn't die, which R2 is going to add 4 health to. So you can do some fun things.
that's gross. Yeah, still gross. R2 still gross in Rebels.
That's something I'm gonna try out. I haven't even thought about the Landspeeder thing.
Yeah,
I forgot he could take actions because he's in an open transport, so
Yeah.
he can just repair it. Ooh.
Yeah, because you could take out you could take a loaded Landspeeder with an R2 in it as sort of a little bit of a gunboat, and then at some point just drop R2 off, but while he's just immortal inside the Landspeeder and repairing it.
That sounds really good. I'm gonna try that.
that also makes like unstable astromech fun too, because I'll take some wounds to shoot twice, then R2 will just scoop those back up.
Yeah. Tim, I hate you for bringing that up.
Yeah. As soon as you said it, I was like, oh, this is disgusting.
Maybe we can cut this section.
Yeah. Let's not put this out into the world.
No, it's gonna happen.
I did put that in someone's ear long ago, and I haven't seen them run it yet. So
okay,
I put it in Ryan.
We'll see.
I put it in Ryan from Stabcast's ear because I was expecting him to play it at some point, but I haven't seen him yet. So now
luckily for me, he did not play it for Invader Elims. So we had our match over the weekend.
It was quick.
It was, yes. I won't dwell on it. It was quick. We'll leave it at that. There was some bad variants on Mando's saves. It kind of snowballed from there. All right. Jin and Leia -10.
Hooray.
Okay.
Fine, I guess. I don't know if he's
Jin is now 90 points, which is interesting.
Considering she's 120 points on her unit card. Yeah.
Is it only 120? I thought it was like 130.
I thought it was 130.
Is it really 130?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh,
Grief.
yeah,
Right, regardless.
her unit card is 130.
Wow.
See, speaking of some Landspeeder grossness, like this is, I think Stabcast Ryan, this is his thing too, is he put Jin in a Landspeeder with Shriv giving her dodge and a suppression, and then she has heavy cover, so she has danger sense, and also she's gonna have a dodge from Shriv and a dodge from quick thinking, and she's nimble, right?
Yeah.
So she becomes, so you have like a gunboat plus Jin shooting out of it, and I think he puts like K2's gun, like it's Jin's gun, but it's the 5 white gun for suppressive and 5 white dice search crit. So
now that's a little more interesting.
Yeah.
What do you mean that's more interesting?
Well, so Jin's problem has never been like her durability, right?
Sure.
Jin's problem has been just that like you ignore her and then she sort of like throws snowballs at you all game. Like, but with the K2 gun, yeah, I could see that, I guess.
And then when she's in a craft that makes sure that she's going to be in a spot that's going to hurt.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think like 90 points for Jin is we're getting into, I can just bring a character that infiltrates, like, I don't know, and is super durable. Her command cards are real good. Well, complete the mission is really good.
Yeah, her other two are bad.
Yeah. Sorry. I immediately regretted saying that. But her 3-pip, I mean, complete the mission is insanely good. Particularly, it gives you low profile, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Does it give all of the units low profile or just her?
I think so.
The fact that we have to look this up shows you how bad Jin has been.
Yeah, it's just her that gets low profile. But still, like low profile plus Danger Sense 4 is like
pretty good.
She becomes unkillable, basically.
Yeah.
I think long story short, at 90 points, she's pretty viable.
Yeah.
If not just straight good.
Yeah, I think I'm in that boat. Leia, on the other hand, I don't understand why she didn't go to 75 alongside Krennic and Veers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's not that much more, but at the same time, she's still 35 more points than a rebel officer.
Mm-hmm.
And 70 more points than Shriv. So
yeah, I don't know. I think Veers probably should have went down a little bit farther than he did before, maybe by like another 5 points or so. Yeah, I think Leia, I don't know. Krennic's definitely better than Leia. That I feel confident in saying.
Yeah, I think that's now true. I'm not sure that was always true, but I think it's definitely now true.
Yeah, specifically with the specialist going down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think. Sorry, go ahead, Lucas.
I could see Leia and Veers both at 70. Like, 'cause they don't bring anything super powerful with their command cards. Their biggest thing is handing out dodges and names, and you can already do that, like you said, with tons of cheaper options. So I wouldn't be too bothered by them at 70.
Yeah, I mean, they both basically have a dead command card.
Yeah, her 3-pip is terrible.
Yeah,
I mean, there's got to be some sort of like weird combo you can do with it nowadays. I don't know what it is, but
the problem is it's a 3-pip.
Yeah, totally.
It's a good effect, but you're gonna go second. So why?
Yeah, it'd be amazing as a 1-pip.
Yeah,
totally. I mean, it'd be busted.
Yeah, it would. You're right. But her 1-pip and
even a 2-pip would be
pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, her 1-pip and 2-pip are still pretty good. Coordinated bombardment's still decent. It's one of the few things that actually circumvents low profile because she has sharpshooter too. So she can still pace the strike team with coordinated bombardment. No Time for Sorrows is still pretty good, but I don't know. I mean, maybe you take her with Wookiees and then you have a way to give Wookiees an extra move. I don't know.
I mean, it can be good for Wookiees to, like, if they kill something and then you need to move them into another engagement to get them safe before the next round. But
yeah, I'm not sure it's worth paying 80 for.
Yeah, it's a niche effect for 80.
I think especially when, like, I know comparing across faction isn't always a thing, but like the difference between Clone Commander and them, I feel like they almost bring something very similar. And the Clone Commander, is significantly cheaper at 60. And I feel like they don't bring much more than 10 points more than what the Clone Commander does.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, all right, let's hit some of these other ones real quick because there's
a lot.
There is a lot, and there's a couple of these we'll probably spend some more time on. So FD cannon -5.
Sure.
Pew pew.
Yeah. All right, I guess. It's kind of either terrible or amazing, depending on like what your table looks like that you roll up to and what your deployments are. So I don't know.
I mean, it's getting cheap enough that it's as a 1 or 2 of it's you could bring it with a generator and HQ uplink to be a neutral pass token for 78 points.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think
shoot stuff.
You can probably take one of as a hedge now.
Yeah. Definitely not more than one though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems fine. Just take one if you got some points left.
Mm-hmm.
All right, full Rebel Commandos -2 plus low profile change.
I think if it wasn't such a competitive spot in Rebels, yes, but I have a tough time seeing you not bringing Wookiees in most Rebel lists. If you're bringing special, like you're bringing Wookiees or activation spam, and so I think it's kind of in between. But I think they could be good, especially with the low profile changes.
Yeah, I mean, what the base commando plus the sniper is 76, and a naked squad of Wookiees is 69. Seems
I don't
like
know. I don't think naked Wookiees are good, but that's just my personal bias.
I mean, baby Wookiees are 77 with offensive push and tenacity. So
yeah. I mean, I definitely think if you're gonna take Wookiees, you want the full squads for sure. But I think like a baby Wookiee squad compared to a commando squad, it's not real close.
I think it's closer than you might think. The commandos are 5 wounds. They've got low profile. They have a significantly better ranged attack at range 3 at any range. And they surge to their save. So they've got what if you just eliminate low profile from the conversation, they have 7.5 effective wounds. The Wookiees have like 9. And then you put low profile in the conversation and the fact that the commandos don't need to get close to their target to do some good damage. I would actually consider these guys over naked Wookiees.
Yeah, I don't know. As somebody who's been playing naked Wookiees, hard disagree, but
okay, that's fair. I think you could, if you wanted, you could take like Chewie to pull even more hits off and make him more durable. This also seems like, for what, 48 points, which is the same cost as a strike team with a sniper rifle. You could take a full unit that's twice as many runes and throws 4 dice as like a extra activation. Seems fine.
Yeah,
for activation padding.
Yeah. I mean, it shows how good the low profile change is that we're even talking about it as a option.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, these guys were like laughably bad up until this moment, basically, for the entirety of Legion.
Yep.
Yeah, is it just low profile? Is it scout? The scout change too that makes all these kind of.
I think there's only Empire that got a change.
No,
right?
yeah. I meant with Empire too. Like because we're discussing both of them, right? Is it both those changes makes like the Empire one better, or is it?
I mean, Scout 3 is nice to have, but the low profile change, because the full teams are just so laughably easy to shoot off, whereas low profile and in conjunction with clones, like gun lines just in general, being a little less viable. I think it's maybe like for the scouts, it's probably like 80-20 or 90-10 for like out of those 2 changes, which is more important.
Yep, agree. Sabs also got -3 points. The Rebel Sabs, along with -2 on stims.
Got a local guy who's all up in the Rebel Sab world right now.
It actually seems kind of good to me.
it definitely could be.
If there's one thing that is good against the Wookiees, it's Sabs. I have used Sabs against Wookiees. It's actually kind of gross because like the Wookiees want to get close to you. And by the time they get there, you can have like 6 to 9 bombs kind of in the important areas. And Wookiees depend on damage mitigation, like cover. and things like that because their saves are so garbage. And the sabs just bypass that. So
And they can also hit into melee.
correct. Yep.
So that's you would be potentially blowing up your own units, but that might be worth it.
Well,
Um,
and it's also a way to have like an activate. I've seen some very clever uses of sabs where people intentionally attack their own units.
Yeah.
Like in that situation, if you've got like one guy left surviving who's already activated in melee with a Wookiee, you just blow him up and then you can shoot the Wookiees.
Yeah. Our local guy too is all talk about with how aggressive everyone, like all the aggressive melee skews, is like putting out a bunch of bombs, taking a couple standbys so that like when Wookiees get close, you like blow one bomb up and then you can stand by off there and like move or shoot them or whatever, blow up another bomb, and like just keep doing that as many times as you can.
Yep. All right. Pathfinders -2, duck and cover -2.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like people are bringing out Bistan already. I think
Yeah.
it makes it pretty good. I don't know. Powell got what, 2 points off? I don't know if that's quite good enough to make Powell something you really want to bring, but I think Bistan's are a solid option. 2 points off both those upgrades. Makes him just a even more good option.
Yeah, dig it.
Yeah, seems fine. All right. Rebel Troopers, Ion -1, SX-21 -2, Captain -2, Specialist -4. Kind of who cares, I think.
Specialist is the Rebel Specialist just a dodge token?
Just a dodge.
Yeah, it's bad.
Man. Oof, sorry guys.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the Rebel Trooper situational awareness thing got cheaper technically.
Yeah, but like nobody's been running that.
I'm not saying it's good.
Right, that's good in more of like a gunline meta that's trying to take all these chipping shots. And as we've talked about, that is not where we're at. So
Nope,
while it's
hard
cheaper,
no.
this is just not the environment that Rebel captains want to be in.
Nope. You know, it's funny. I would never have thought we'd approach a world where people are like, man, these storms with specialists and heavy weapons are really interesting. And then we get to the rebels and it's like, man, Rebel Troopers with heavy weapons and special and personnel upgrades. Ugh, it's terrible.
Yeah, there's just better things to spend your points on in Rebels.
Yeah.
Red save, best save.
I think it's void save, bet save, but
Yeah.
all right. Let's get to the actual Rebel nerfs here, which is really just centered around one unit. But yeah, the bus, the AA5 speeder truck, Gong Droid +4, Tactician +6, aims on activation of the truck instead of at the beginning of the turn, Reckless Driver +6, Quad Laser plus, just kidding, -8 for some reason.
Yep.
I don't really get that one. People are already taking that in spades. Whatever. Anyway, this other stuff all seems fair and necessary.
Yeah.
The change to the beginning of the activations, just good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That timing was just so disgusting.
Yeah, it was silly. And I actually think that like if you're like taking all the things, particularly if you're taking the quad laser cannon, it kind of nets out a little bit with the reduction to the cannon. Like if you're going to take the cannon anyways,
which you might have been because it was pretty popular. Yeah.
Far more popular than I expected it to be. I was in camp, this thing's way too expensive, and everybody else is like, nah, we're taking it. And I was like, okay. But I think you're definitely taking it now.
Yeah.
But overall, I think the bus is going to be about the same cost, but Tactician is going to do what it should do.
Yeah, now it's only Spotter 3 at range 3. As a free action.
Well, it's spotter
It's
0 to 3.
I know, up to 3. It's not always. It's usually just 2.
yeah. I mean, it's not even a free action. It's just at the beginning of the activation, which
Yeah.
could be better. It is sometimes better, sometimes worse, because you can't like move and then do it.
Right. That's
But it
It's not
still
cool.
happens if you get Ion's choice.
Yes, and that's what I was. It's sometimes better, sometimes worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just makes your buses kind of a little more order hungry. You no longer can just bring buses and completely ignore them orders wise, right? They want to go before your other things, which I think is a fine change, right? Basically everything else in the game that's any kind of focus piece that's supporting an army or is, hard hitting your army typically needs orders in some way. And so it's one of the few things where you could just throw buses in your list with the tactician and not worry about them, and they're just tossing out aims.
Yeah, this makes total sense.
Yeah, I think the onboard comms deck is going to get even better.
Yeah, the timing is going to get awkward because I think a lot of times you wanted to like save the bus for last or second to last so that you could like pull up and let out is like the last thing you did in a turn, which is a little awkward with the aim timing, unless the only thing you want an aim token on is the bus and what's in it.
Yeah, I do think this a little bit also mitigate, like often like Rebel lists, if you had like triple Wookiees, you also have like a few like heavy weapons on trooper units. It's like first turn you'd throw all the aims on like your trooper units and then second turn on the Wookiees. So now you probably just lose that first turn of aims on your troopers, which is fine. Like it was sort of a incidental benefit that you're just gonna lose, but oh well.
Yeah, or on Cassian, right? People would have Cassian in the back and he'd just be blowing stuff away with 2 crits on every shot through sniper. Or you set him forward with K2 and you get lying in wait on both turns 1 and 2 with both of them.
It's ridiculous.
So I appreciate that you can't do that anymore.
The double bus Cassian K2 list is so stupid.
You don't even need like 2 buses, even with 1 bus between teamwork. It's usually like 4 aims on each of them at the start of every turn. And then K2 does calculate because he can. He's got like 5 or 6. Yeah.
So I appreciate that. If you're going to do that, now you got to go with your buses. So you have to put them in danger, at least. Right. It can't be perfect timing where you're giving Cassie and K2 all these aims and you get to go last with your buses to slingshot them in.
It's probably also makes between that and the points increase to Reckless Driver, probably makes Reckless Driver a little bit less popular, which I think is great because Reckless Driver is a horrible thing for the game. But you can't have a bus sit back and give aims if they've got a Reckless Driver because they have to move forward. So, it adds another wrinkle to that timing consideration if you want to use it as like a gunline support bus.
Yeah, I really like it a lot. It makes it so, like you said, you kind of choose how you're going to play it. It can't just do everything. You got to choose if you want to be aggressive with it or more of a support unit, which I think flavor and gameplay wise is much better.
And I think with the points increase on the tactician, it's not an auto take on every single bus ever. I think it's possible we see, like, if you want a bus to deliver Wookiees, it's possible you don't take the tactician. Just because if you are just going to like end of turn 1, double move it, beginning of turn 2, single move it, and then it'll probably die, you might want to spend 16 points to potentially get 3 aims at the end of a turn.
Yeah, I can see that.
Any final Rebel thoughts? That was basically the list. Did I miss anything?
Wedge.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, yeah, I did. All right, go ahead. My bad.
Go ahead, Tim.
Okay.
You brought it up.
Yeah, Tim.
Yeah.
I mean, he went back up to, he went up to 5, gained field commander, and did keep his old free pivot ability, which was on like a little bit of a confusion at a time, but yeah, so he's a field commander and an exhaust free pivot ability. So now instead of Shriv in a doubles airspeeder with a field commander, you take Wedge because it's 5 points less. So that's just a good.
Seems real good.
5 point cut to double airspeeder. All right.
Yeah, I think it's pretty notable that neither the airspeeders or the Wookiees had any changes, which I would say are also things that are really overtuned currently. So I think Rebels are still in a very good spot.
I mean, the only change to T-47 Wookiees was, we'll give you a slightly cheaper field commander. That's the
that's
and
not
R2.
that's the R2 went up to.
Yeah,
but
that list that I ran for SoCal is 100% illegal now.
I mean, all you have to do is take out one bowcaster, put it in a battle shield, and you're good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
No, that doesn't fit either, because the battle shield is only 5 points cheaper than a bowcaster, isn't it?
Yeah, but I forget. Okay, I obviously forget what you had.
I was at exactly 800.
Did you have a rebel officer or Shriv?
I had rebel officer because I couldn't afford Shriv.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess you gotta drop 2 bowcasters.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
which
don't know.
kind of changes it a lot, actually.
I think what I don't know. I made it fit. I took your list, and I think I just had to drop one bowcaster to a shield. I don't know how I did it, but
There might be a way to make it fit, but
yeah.
I don't know. I would probably just like drop R2 for a naked rebel trooper. Personally.
I mean, that also works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess with that, do you think that's an unfair change to that list? Like that list, while it plays differently than that state, right? You made some comments before that list can kind of just ignore objectives and go for face the whole time. So while it does change it, I think it's kind of a fair change. At least now you don't have R2 in the bag also.
Yeah, right. No, it's totally fair. I brought the list because I thought it was a degenerate list. And I kind of wanted to like, demonstrate something about the red player changes. So.
I figured out how I did it. I just took one of the offensive pushes off.
Oh yeah, okay. I guess you can do that
because you just go airspeeder with Wedge or airspeeder, 4 rebel troopers and R2, and then 3 Wookiees, 1 no offensive push. And if you wanted, you could take 1 rebel trooper off, put in a rebel officer, and take Wedge off, whichever you prefer.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still ways to make it fit.
Yeah.
All right.
I was just confused because I know I did it. So I was like, what did I do?
Any other rebel thoughts?
Rebels still seem good. Old things that were good are still good, and maybe there's some new things that are good.
Yeah, I don't think much changes about the rebel faction at present, outside of maybe bus lists are more fair.
Well, and I think you see the bus, you were seeing the bus in like 90% of rebel lists. Now you have to be a little bit more intentional about what you want to do with it instead of just like, I'm taking the bus because I'm a rebel player,
Yeah, I mean, I think the airspeeders are just like objectively better, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
I'm with you. I took 2 of them.
I think that even before the bus nerfs, airspeeders were the objective correct choice.
I don't know if it's that they're like objectively better so much as they're just objectively better in the current meta, which is a melee/vehicle heavy meta. A, because they're really good against vehicles, and B, because they're untouchable in melee. Those 2 things will continue to be true. So
yeah, I mean, 2 airspeeders can still slag away ATST, right, Jay?
Yeah. Yeah.
I sure can.
Do you think the ATSTs could take out those airspeeders back with Impact 4?
Harder. It's a lot harder.
Yeah.
It's funny because early in the game, they clearly wanted the T-47 to be like I have in my picture. Oh yeah, it's gonna come and it's gonna spin. Remember when we used to spin the ATSTs around to try to get to the weak point, and it just never worked? And now they don't even have to do that. They just can like naked roll 4 crits naturally and just like murder ATSTs as if they were made of paper.
Jay's salt on this topic makes me happy.
I've never seen an ATST fold so fast.
We almost made it a whole episode without some J salt. Almost.
I was riding real high. I was riding high, and then Mike, he just found a way to get to me. He just found the way. So
Yep. In the last minutes.
yeah,
I mean, you can't let you be too
congratulations,
happy.
Mike. Congratulations, Mike. No one can ever let me be too happy. It's just I was having a good day, and here we go.
I mean, Jay obviously has never played my saber tank list with his ATSTs because pew pew.
We could try it.
I got to play against that Yoda Padme standby sharing saber tank nonsense this week.
It'll be fun.
There's so many fun things you can do with Yoda plus Padme plus saber.
Welcome
Just
to
don't get hostage exchange.
Yeah, welcome to what the Republic is now. Saber
Yeah, he literally
combo.
titled his list standby sharing 2.0.
Yeah,
So
I think it's actually probably pretty good.
it definitely is pretty good.
It is.
I've been like visualizing in my brain how to approach this problem, and I'm like, no, that's not going to work. Nope, that's not going to work either. It's like,
I continue to wait for the time when I get to throw something in front of a saber tank with a standby ready and just throw and blast out of the sky.
yeah, and then do it again.
And then do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, hit guidance and then do it again. Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, good luck with that.
Yeah, thanks.
Just be glad
Anyway.
it doesn't have Sentinel.
Oh, that'd be ridiculous. That'd be so silly.
It'd be
All
fun.
right.
Did we touch on any of the generic upgrades at all ever?
Generic upgrade, maybe.
I think we kind of hit them like where they were relevant to the units that usually take them. Like we talked about stims. We talked about anger with Palpatine. We talked about duck and cover with the Pathfinders.
I think I might have
I think
buried the
that's
lead.
it, right?
I think I buried the lead a little bit. Smoke grenades got quite a bit better.
Yeah, we should
Oh,
actually talk
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Tim? Why didn't you just say like let's talk about smoke
Well,
grenades?
Because I was trying to, I knew there was one of them that I was forgetting. That was like, before the cast, I'd like, we need to make sure I talk about this. But then I forgot, so I was trying to search for it while delaying. Anyway,
Yeah. In Tim's defense, we're like 4.5 hours deep on talking about
Yeah,
these changes.
we are.
So-
Accurate.
so smoke grenades, they're now 3 points. I think they were one. I don't know. They were 1 or 2 points, whatever. But now they're a free action and they exhaust.
they discard.
Do they discard?
They
Oh,
discard. Yeah, it's one time
Yeah.
use.
never mind. So they So I didn't even know the correct thing. It's 3 points and discard.
Well, that was anticlimactic.
I
Thank you.
actually think these are pretty. Depending on what you're doing, these could be really good. I'm like specifically if you're like doing any of the melee charging across the battlefield thing going on right now, just like having a unit with smoke grenades that can just like lay down mobile light cover, real good. Giving Vader light cover, excellent. There's a lot of things you can do with this. Now that it doesn't cost an action, it's actually kind of reasonable.
Well,
mean,
they
also-
stack if you use 2 of them, don't they?
I don't think so.
They definitely stack on light cover. I don't know if they stack on each other.
I have to look this up now.
But like,
Well,
depending,
It would be good with low profile units.
well, it's a low profile, but also like if you show up to a table and there's tons of like it's fairly open, but there's tons of light area terrain or whatever everywhere, like there's forests, then suddenly smoke grenades get even right. Like it sort of helps hedge against weird terrain
Mm.
possibilities.
Yeah.
Because it guarantees you can get light cover, and on top of that, you can probably get heavy cover if
Mhm.
you finagle it around a little bit. So
I think it goes a long way to like making like, I'm gonna like spend 6 points to take a couple smoke grenades, and you can sort of make a bad forward deployment a little better.
I mean, you can also like if you have like an ATRT or like spider droid gun line and you have a couple smoke grenades behind, suddenly your whole army's in heavy cover, no matter where they are.
Yeah.
So
Just smoke gives vehicles cover too, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So like all the vehicles that are like armor X.
Vehicles don't get cover front.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah,
All right,
I
never
had
mind.
to look it up.
Yeah, I don't know. I've literally never used a smoke grenade before. Like the only card that ever has put a smoke token into play is R2's 3-pip.
Yeah. And it looks like it does not stack. So the wording is trooper units whose unit leader is at range 1 of a smoke token improve their cover by 1. So
yeah,
it doesn't look like if you had 2 smoke tokens, you're still at range 1 of a smoke token. So yeah, but it does stack with other cover effects and with existing cover. So
yeah, seems fun.
Yeah, especially now, like I feel like with a lot of this stuff, because we've been talking about bids decreasing, and I'm going to say this feels boring to me, but you're kind of like, well, I'm not bidding anymore, so I might as well just throw these, other, like it makes points matter less. Does that make sense?
I think
like, yeah, I guess I'll spend these 3 points. Why not?
I think it's cool and fun to be able to be like, okay, I'm at like 796 and I don't feel bad about taking an upgrade that is situationally good. And there's a lot of upgrades in Legion that are situationally good and therefore don't see any play because it's just better than to bid in the past. And now I think a lot of those upgrades are like, okay, I wasn't going to take them before, but now it's reasonable.
There's easily like 4 upgrades that are probably going to be like one of in lists and like 50% of lists or something. So
it'd be interesting for bidding.
What
is if you lost the bid, if you got to spend your points? So not like spontaneously, you'd have to basically like build that into your original list, but you'd like say you make a list that's like 790, and then in that list you would also allocate 10 points to upgrades, and then if you lost the bid, you would spend those 10 points. You would get those 10 points worth of upgrades, and your opponent would be questionable.
I'm going to take a 0-point list and just allocate them as I see fit.
But then you automatically win the bid, and you don't get any to play with any units. You can't like choose to lose.
I
the
see
bid.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's not a blue or red player distinction.
No.
It's just a win the bid distinction.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. That seems overly complicated.
Yeah, I think that.
I think it's more interesting.
I think it's weird, not interesting will be the word I use.
Fine. I'll just keep my ideas to myself.
Yeah, Kyle.
I think that'd be really cool for an event or a like narrative thing, but as a standard rule, I don't like it as much.
I could see like a sideboard where like you package a list 800 and then you like cut X amount of upgrades, and if you win the bid you don't get them, and if you don't win the bid you do.
Isn't that the same thing?
That's the exact same thing.
It's exactly
no, it is definitely not, because in your option you got to see their list and then choose what upgrades you took, which potentially
no.
You bring it beforehand.
Yeah, you set aside this.
Then I misheard.
Yeah. You came up with the exact same idea.
Okay, well then I misunderstood what you were saying. Sorry, my
yeah.
We're getting to the end of the podcast, and we're just hey,
getting late at night.
Guys, I got an idea.
Yeah. All right, I got an idea. How about we end this podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, did we miss something else?
No, I think that was the one.
We're good. Let's just go.
All right.
We've done this for 2 weeks in a row. I've had enough.
Yeah,
it's a weekly podcast. Calm down.
Listen, there was changes. Everybody either enjoy them or don't. Let's move on, and happy gaming.
# Empire Opinions.
Yep. All right. Well, we are the Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Kyle.
I'm Mike.
I'm Jay.
I'm Lucas.
Timbo.
Oh
no!
Oh, you
Shucks.
losers! Got
So
him.
close.
We tried.
All right. Stay fresh, cheese bags.